This DFS edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. Bet $100 at WynnBET and get a $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. Welcome, everybody, back to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford. I am in Newcastle upon Tyne, northeast coast of England. Today is Wednesday. No idea what day it is. The 11th, do you reckon? Is it the 12th?
It's the 12th.
It's Wednesday the 12th. I've already done one show today.
We're going to do a third.
Yeah, looks like it. So Wednesday the 12th of October, and we are here to do a DFS slate for the two games, the NLDS games, two game twos, one at 4:35 Eastern, one at 8:37 Eastern. Myself and Moonaf have already put out our picks, our betting picks for those games, so you'll be able to find that podcast in your usual places. But yeah, DFS time. We're trying to get as much playoff content out as we can. And joining me for the second day running to do some DFS stuff is Mr. Noah Bennick. You've already heard his voice. Noah, we'll say hello officially. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well, Malcolm. And honestly, I think we've been blessed with some great postseason baseball. Now, if we're wanting to talk about like the best playoffs in sports, I think NHL still kind of edges us out, but it's amazing how different postseason baseball is from regular season baseball. There was a stat that I heard on the broadcast that's just ridiculous. Dave Roberts, the manager for the Los Angeles Dodgers, has allowed his pitchers, he's managed 70 playoff games. He's allowed 7 of his pitchers to pitch over 100 pitches and only 6 of his pitchers to go into the 7th inning and face like the order the third time through. Just amazing stuff and how that contrasts against regular season baseball. I love it. I live for the postseason baseball. This kind of brand.
It's been absolutely brilliant. At the risk of repeating myself, because obviously I spoke to Moonaf about an hour ago, and I know a lot of you might listen to both podcasts, but the games yesterday were brilliant. The wildcard weekend was great. The games last night, the Jordan Alvarez walk-off, what was Robbie Ray doing in the game?
I love
Garrett Cole getting away with the first one. The Phillies nearly blowing it, the little fight back. Travis d'Arnaud called home run. All that sort of stuff. It's been really, really fun, and I've enjoyed it a hell of a lot. And I did say to Moonaf earlier, I've enjoyed it more because of the community in terms of you and Dylan and Moonaf that we're all chatting in the chat, the Discord channel with all the listeners in there, the Twitter community, Johnny Junter and all them. And it's been really, really good fun, and I'm having a whale of a time watching it. So long may it continue, and I hope we get a whole load of decent games as well. Do you want to give us any thoughts on what stood out for you last night? Was it the Robbie Ray thing?
That one was entertaining. I have a note that I have for later today. I think the Mariners. Okay, I said this in the Discord. I think every underdog impressed me, other than our Guardians. So yeah, Seattle, they jumped out to that big lead early. They, at the time, I thought they had ruined the first betting commandment that I have is don't fade Justin Verlander. But at the end of the day, they came through. And Paul Sewald, putting him into close in the 9th inning, just an interesting decision all around, I think, because they really had a short leash on him. And now 2 of those 3 runs were put on him from that Robbie Ray home run. But Paul Sewald has a 10.88 ERA in his last 9 appearances. Robbie Ray, if you're wondering, has a 6.31 ERA in his last 7 appearances. So that was my takeaway from that game. I think Cleveland disappointed just because they weren't really hitting, and maybe Garrett Cole shoved, but they got to step it up a little bit. And I'm looking at Andres Jimenez there. For the Philly one, I tweeted this out yesterday. I've said this on the podcast before. This bullpen is the clear weakness of the team, I think. And I'm on the other side of all 3 of you guys. All 3 of you guys had the Phillies to win this series. Right now, after that first game, viewing the Braves kind of like a prized fighter, softening up his opponent with body shots to wear the opponent out like later on in the fight. I really am nervous for the back end of that bullpen. I don't know if you heard the David Robertson news that he strained his right calf celebrating
Okay.
his home run. That was interesting. And then Zach Eflin has not had a clean ninth inning yet in the postseason, so that's another thing that nerves me. And the Padres still looked good, in my opinion. We all knew that Clevenger was going to get rocked. I think every one of us handicapped that well. I think we hit every single bet that we gave out in that game for game one. Clevenger threw 5.1, and then the bullpen backed him up or Clevenger gave up 5 runs in 3.2 or 2.2, whatever it was. And the bullpen backed him up with 5.1. Perfect. So, yeah, that's where I kind of stand. That was all my review from yesterday's games. Jam-packed day. Only today we have 2 games. So it's kind of like yesterday's late night slate. Gave us a little bit of a warm-up for today's DFS lineup.
Yeah, so yesterday's DFS show, I don't feel like we were miles away. I feel like between us, we kind of had a cash lineup, but then again, that's easy to say when you're only picking from 4 teams. It's pretty unavoidable to miss on everybody, but we hit both starting pitchers really well. We obviously faded Clevenger and then Ranger Suarez, so we picked up the other 2. We picked up who was it? Julio Urias and Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole got a little bit lucky, but yeah, the things that cost me a bit were my 2 Cleveland players. Although were really punts. My catcher, I punted catcher, and Josh Naylor did nothing. But Trey Turner hit a bomb. I didn't get much out of Stanton. Gavin Lux did okay, but really, the issue I had was I gave out 2 kind of pivot plays, and I came down the wrong side on both of them. I had Oscar Gonzalez. When my other option was Stephen Kwan, and Stephen Kwan hit the home run. And then I had Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger, I actually thought was a bit unlucky. He had a bases loaded opportunity. Looked to me like he'd got a kind of RBI. But I think they might have called it on a fielding error. Wouldn't have made much difference. But the other option I had there was Harrison Bader. And Harrison Bader hit a dinger as well. So if I'd swapped out Bader and Kwan, swapped in Bader and Kwan for Gonzalez and Bellinger, which we did talk about. I had different options as well. So I wasn't a million miles away. So my team's kind of finished right in the middle of my contest. It was like a 5,000 runner tournament, and I finished something like 2.5K. So I wasn't a million miles away, and I felt like I made some good decisions without cashing. No. So how did your boys get on?
I remember jumping in and helping you out with that Stephen Kwan one, so I'll take a little bit.
Yeah, you did. You talked me out of it, didn't you?
Yeah. So I'll take a little bit of ownership in that. It's hard to expect him to hit his 6th career home run off of Gerrit Cole.
Absolutely, yeah.
So my lineup actually cashed. I was 25th out of 3,000.
Nice.
24 points out of first. Like we said, we had Gerrit Cole and Urias, so those are the top 2 pitchers on the slate. And then I had Will Smith, who put up 16 points. He didn't get a home run, but he had 2 extra base hits and scored twice with 1 RBI. And then Harrison Bader, who had the home run. So that was the highlights of that lineup. The full slate didn't cash. I didn't play Jordan, so that was why. But I'm ready to jump into today's slate.
Yeah, Jordan was different gravy. He was absolutely brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah. I think the 5 days off kind of helped him. You mentioned it on our ALDS pod.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that little bit of relief he gets.
It's tied a record for most RBIs in a single game.
I nearly said that he gets a little bit of hand relief and then realised just how inappropriate that would have sounded. And now I've got and said it anyway, but what you're going to do. So we've got 2 games tonight, 4 lineups to choose from. 4:35, the Phillies and the Braves. 8:37 Eastern is the Padres and the Dodgers. Noah, you can hit me with your 2 SPs.
So starting it off with my starting pitchers, I think I'm going to steer away from the top, the highest priced pitcher in Clayton Kershaw. We're going to go with Yu Darvish for my first pitcher, 7.5K. That's just the way the lineup is. He's not my most expensive, so that might have just given away my second pitcher. But Yu Darvish at 7.5K, 25 innings pitched with a 2.52 ERA, and he pitched against the Dodgers 4 times this year. He had 5, 7, 9, and 10 strikeouts. I think that Darvish only had 1 really bad start in those 4 starts, and I am on the Dodgers in this series, so I think they need to win this Darvish start. So I'm going to side with Darvish against the Dodgers here at 7.5K, Malcolm.
Okay, and who have you paired him with?
Zach Wheeler at 8K, 21 innings pitched with only 6 earned runs, a 2.57 ERA in 3 games against Atlanta this year with 7, 8, and 10 strikeouts. We're going to announce our cards at the end of the day. You might hear a play or two on Zach Wheeler from me. Really like Zach Wheeler in this spot. I just hate that Phillies bullpen. So really, if you could talk me into a first 5 moneyline play on the Phillies, I might go with you. But Wheeler is my second starter.
Okay, so I've got an angle here. Well, I think both of these games are going to be low scoring. The Dodgers and the Padres, just because they're looking at the pitching matchup. I've just spoken to Munaf on our picks show and handicapped this Phillies Braves game as a low scoring game. And one of the big reasons is kind of situational, and it's the time that the game starts. Now, the time the game starts today, that game was in its middle to late stages yesterday, and there was shadows creeping all around in between the mound and home base. The radio commentators were talking about the difficulty the batters are going to have today in being able to see the ball. So I've taken both pictures from this game. I like the under. I like the first 5 under when we made some picks earlier on. I like Zach Wheeler strikeouts. We're going to get to all that in a little while. So I've gone both pitchers from the same game. Kyle Wright is by far the cheapest pitcher on the board. But his fantasy points per game is only kind of 2 lower than the other 2.
Two lower than Darvish. That is the cheapest. He has the most wins in the MLB this year.
And he's considerably cheaper as well. It's not even, he saves you $3,000, which you can put to good use. So he was 6,700. And like you say, Zach Wheeler was 8,000. Zach Wheeler, 10, 8, and 7 strikeouts in his 3 games against the Braves. And yeah, that was my little angle in the wind's blowing in 7 miles an hour. And I just think that little shadowy first hour, they can both go scoreless and rack up a few Ks, and that leaves me a few quid to spend elsewhere. So I took both pictures from the same game. Let's move on.
I agree with you there, and I think you're on a little sharp nugget as well on that shadow point, because although the Braves did rally later in that game through the shadows, actually, they have a losing record at home in day games this year.
They absolutely do, yeah.
So that's one thing. And in general, I think their record in day games this year is 22-26 after yesterday's loss. So really, it's in the day. I mentioned it on the ALDS pod or NLDS pod. It sucks that the defending world champions have 2 day games in games 1 and 2 that they're hosting.
It's good for me because I get to watch them.
Sure.
Any little nuggets that we throw out and you fancy your bet? WinBet is the perfect place to do it. It's a great time to join. You'll bet $100, you'll get $100. The WinBet Casino is open 24 hours a day. You'll get 100% deposit match there up to $1,000. And the biggest winners club, if the biggest odds parlay on a weekend, you'll get $1,000 free bet. Last week, someone turned $6 into $4,000 and won that grand free bet. WinBet. Really looking after the hashtag DayGens only there. Loads to choose from. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet so they know that we sent you. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet. Offer subject to change. T's and C's at winbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where play through WinBet is available. If you are someone who knows a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Fubo TV is a place for all you football watchers. College, NFL, Red Zone, Pro Football, over 100 channels of sports and entertainment too. No contract, no commitment. Cancel at any time. Try Fubo TV free for 7 days. Get 15% off your first month. Go to FuboTV.com/SGP. That's FUBOTV.com/SGP. And finally, Odds Trader, a place to compare odds from all the major sports books and compare the different sign-up codes and promos as well. Get the best bang for your buck and then use all the tools, the play-by-play updates, the live scores, the player stats, the key game stats, the projected game day weather, and the all-important bet tracker is all to be found at oddstrader.com/Blue Wire. OddsTrader is the number one site for all of your game day bets. Okay, pitchers covered. Into the hitters, Noah. Who's your catcher?
Going back to the well that you jumped into yesterday, Malcolm, Travis d'Arnaud for 3.8K. He's batting .467. That's 7 for 15 with 5 singles, a double, and a home run against Zach Wheeler. And in the playoffs in his career, he's batting .222 with an OPS of .672, 8 home runs, and 25 RBIs. So, again, kind of hinting at the card for later today, but Travis d'Arnaud might be on it.
Okay. Yeah, well, really, I had no choice but to write down Travis d'Arnaud on my team. It's no surprise at all. He was great. Talked about him playing in every game for the Mets postseason in their run in whatever year that was. He played in every game last season in the postseason when the Braves went all the way, and he continually raked. I think I got him twice in the playoffs and the World Series last year at fancy prices. Talked about that on yesterday's show. Put him up yesterday, and then in the first inning, looked like we was coming up with the bases loaded. I was sitting there rubbing my hands until the Braves went into a double play. I think it was Olsen hit into a double play. So I was doubly furious that he then had to come up with the beat. Oh, that was it. It was Contreras. That d'Arnaud had to come up with the bases empty and lead off next time. And then sure enough, just as we were chatting shit
texting about it.
Yeah, just as we were chatting shit in the Slack channel, he went yard. He added another couple of RBIs later on as well, so very much value for money. So yeah, Travis d'Arnaud had to be for me at 3,600. Who's your first baseman, Noah?
Yeah, Insano's on d'Arnaud with us in the chat.
Yeah, the captain's here. Aye, captain.
First baseman for me, I'm going to a guy that was 0-3 yesterday. Or 0-4-3 yesterday. Freddie Freeman at 5.3K for the Dodgers. Darvish is going to help him wake up as he's batting .318 against Darvish with a .722 in his career. 4 singles, a double, and a home run. Freddie Freeman is just one of the key cogs for this Dodgers lineup. And honestly, for the Dodgers to put up 5 runs and Freddie Freeman not to do anything, I really like Freddie Freeman to participate in with all the action that the Dodgers have on the base paths yesterday and what I assume could happen today if my prediction goes wrong, Freddie Freeman's going to value from that. So that's where I'm going to go for there. He's batting right in the middle of the order every day. So I like him to do something at 5.3K.
Okay, so for my first baseman, I've gone with Rhys Hoskins, $4,200. Now, I couldn't take all my bets from that Dodgers-Padres game, particularly because I think that's going to be low scoring as well. This is going to be a tight little slate, this. The most likely blow-up pitcher, I think, is Kyle Wright. Even though I picked him and got him in at 6,700, I think he's the most likely to blow. Like I say, I Freddie Freeman at the price, it was a hell of a lot of money. So, yeah, I sort of toned it down a little bit and went Rhys Hoskins, which, again, left me a lot of money to get some big balls in a little while. So I'll take Hoskins from that early game. Second baseman, Noah, are you riding with the same name that we had yesterday?
No, I'm not. I have a new name today. Orlando Arcia from the Braves at 2.5K. He was a pretty popular play, actually, yesterday. I saw it was like 24%. Didn't really do much. So I'm going to him today. Thinking that most people are going to turn away from him. He's batting .375. He's 3 for 8 with 2 singles and a home run against Zach Wheeler. So a nice little cheap play at second base allows me to open up my pocketbook later on in the slate.
Okay, well, I am going to carry on riding Gavin Lux, double and an RBI last night. Relatively reliable. Like you said, he had a bit of a dodgy September, was excellent before that. So $3,300 again. Low down in the budget, so left me plenty of money to start splashing the cash with my next pick. Who's your third baseman, Noah?
Yeah, splashing the cash is right. Manny Machado, 5.2K from the Dodgers. Third base for pitcher versus batter stats was kind of a little bit dry. But he's got 3 home runs in his career against Clayton Kershaw. He's hitting 257. So in the majors, that'll do. Manny Machado, just like Freddie Freeman, I have both normal 3 hitters, maybe even 4 hitter for Machado, as Juan Soto is maybe hitting 3. Lineup still hasn't come out yet, but really like both of those guys because they are the main beneficiaries of RBIs in the Dodgers and Padres lineup. And like you said, I'm a little bit weary of playing off of PVB in the Braves Phillies game just because of those shadows. So I'm going back to that Padres Dodgers game with Manny Machado, 5.2K.
Yeah, well, I did exactly the same. I had to get the majority of my bats from the Dodgers Padres game, having played the 2 pitches in the other one, and with the angle I've got from my bets as well. So yeah, Manny Machado was my play as well, $5,200. 8 for 32 against Kershaw, I think. And you just got to hope that the Padres can put some runs on the board. There's not going to be many runs about. So Machado is as likely as any to pick some up. So he was my play. Shortstop now.
Yeah. I don't have I don't have 3 players from one team. I don't have a big stack. But the Dodgers are my most expensive stack today. Really, I think I'm going to differentiate myself big time because I am playing Darvish, but I'm also playing 2 of the most expensive Dodgers. So I think that's really going to help me out in the long run. I have Trey Turner at 5.5K. He's batting .353 against Darvish in his career. He's 6 for 17 with 3 singles, 2 doubles, and a home run. And yesterday, he was the Dodgers' best player on the field at the plate. So he had that home run in the first inning, hit another one off the wall. I think he's really hot, and he's also playing for reputation, trying to get a bag in the offseason. So give me Trey Turner at 5.5K.
Yeah, you keep making my job easy here. I don't have to do any explaining of my picks because you've done it. My shortstop is also Trey Turner at 5,500. Was delighted to see him hit that lead-off dinger last night for the LA Dodgers.
You played him last night, right?
I did play him last night. Yeah, I was, like I say, I wasn't a million miles away. So he's obviously in a little bit of form, seeing it well. So give me Trey Turner at 5,500. I'm spending up a lot of this money I saved by picking Kyle Wright. Trumpets, first outfielder, Noah.
First outfielder today. Going to another guy that had pretty good success yesterday, Ronald Acuna Jr., 5.8K. He's 8 for 34 with a .588 slugging percentage against Wheeler in his career, 2 singles, 3 doubles, and 3 home runs. Yesterday, he was slapping the ball all over the park. That was one big part of my angle in taking the Braves to repeat is this Ronald Acuna Jr. is healthy and hungry. So give me him at 5.8K.
Well, no risk of boring the listeners. Ronald Acuna Jr. is my play as well at 5,800. 8 for 34 with 3 homers up Zach Wheeler. And this middle part of my lineup, I've got one more escalator back in as well. But this middle part of my lineup was when I was really flexing my muscles. So yeah, stick Acuna in there for me. And who's your second outfielder?
Second outfielder was a guy that was also really, really hot yesterday. Give me Nicholas Castellanos at 3.6K. He doesn't have great numbers against Kyle Wright in his career, but after watching him for years with the Tigers and over the years after the Tigers got rid of him, this is a guy that when he gets hot, he stays hot. So we're going with Nicholas Castellanos at 3.6K. When he is going good, that price is just too low.
Okay, at this point, I had to stick with the Dodgers Padres games. I didn't want to be taking points off my own pitches here, so I went with Juan Soto. I had enough money to play him. I've got Machado in there, so yeah, I got the two best Padres bats in there. They're going to be that top of that lineup, like you said, best RBI opportunities between Machado and Soto. A little mini stack at 4,800. He's hitting 268 against lefties as well. Even though I think he is 0 for 5 against Wheeler, but why not break his duck tonight?
I like it. And honestly, I had quite a bit of money left over. And that's because I'm playing another outfielder that is pretty cheap. I'm going back to my bread and butter for my third outfielder. and that's playoff Trent Grisham.
Yeah, you are.
He's 1 for 3 with an RBI last night. He's now 5 for 11 with 4 RBIs, 5 runs scored in this postseason. And right now, I think he's a steal at 2.3K.
Yeah, same play. I have playoff Trent written down. Possible pivot to Myers would be the other option, depending on the lineups. But I think Grisham will start. I don't see why not. I had $400 left, but I had to keep, like I say, I had to keep going with these Padres and Dodgers. So with the fact I had Machado and Soto, and Grisham will be somewhere around them, and hopefully between the three of them, they can stack a few points up. So that's the bottom of ours. Captain Cedos.
And like you said, in risk of boring the listeners, we're not going to play the trumpets on every time that we combine.
Captain Cedo's gone with Darvish, Wheeler, Real Mito, Hoskins, Lux, Riley, and Turner. Riley was the player that I thought about. And then Cody Bellinger, Castellanos, and Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber, I think, has got a huge chance. He's going to hit Kenley Jansen out the park at some point in the next 2 nights. There's a call.
The postseason, so he's got to wake up at some point. I like the play.
There's a call for you. And I played Cody Bellinger last night, and I said I think he was a little bit unlucky. He came up with the bases loaded, put bat on ball on another day to score some more runs. But I think again that went as an error rather than a hit. So Bellinger's a good player. He was great in the postseason last year. Yeah.
I looked at that Schwarber price, and it was low for the NL leader in home runs. So I will say that.
Yeah, well, he's not only going to hit a home run, he's going to hit one off Kenley Jansen. That's the call I'm making.
All right.
Okay, so I'll just quickly, Noah, if we run down, give you a lineup in its entirety, and then we can you can give us your picks. My lineup's going to be Zach Wheeler and Kyle Wright, with Travis d'Arnaud, Rhys Hoskins, Gavin Lux, Manny Machado, Trey Turner, Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna, and Trent Grisham. What have you got?
My lineup is Yu Darvish, Zach Wheeler, Travis d'Arnaud, Freddie Freeman, Orlando Arcia, Manny Machado, Trey Turner, Ronald Acuna Jr., Nicholas Castellanos, and playoff Trent Grisham.
And we haven't had your picks yet for this for either of these games. So give us a few picks, and then I'll briefly recap mine for anyone who hasn't caught the show with me and Munaf.
Yeah, so for my plays today, I'll start off in the Philly-Atlanta game. Yesterday, I was even. I went 3 for 3, or 3 and 3 in my picks that I gave out on this podcast. The lock on the last podcast was Padres team total. 1 second, I'll be done in a minute. Padres team total over 2.5, so that one cashed. And then for today in the Philly-Atlanta, I'm going to go with first 5 innings under 3.5 on WinBet, which is plus 100. I hinted at it earlier. Travis d'Arnaud over a half RBI at plus 210. We're getting that again at 2-1. I like that price. He's been pretty good against Zach Wheeler in his career and in the postseason as well. And then talking about Zach Wheeler, I have him over 4.5 strikeouts on WinBet at minus 160. And then looking at laddering that as well, because he had 7, 8, and 10 strikeouts in 3 games against Atlanta in this year. I have him at 6. I have to get 6 and to get 7 on another planet there. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, if you'd be playing the trumpets if you jumped on with myself and Munaf earlier, and we had the angle of the shadows of that situational stuff we talked about, the weather coming in, Zach Wheeler, K's was surprised. My book had them 4.5, my book over here, but it was juice. It was something like minus 132, minus 140. Munaf had found a plus 5.5, I think, which was at plus 115. So that was my lock. Wheeler on the strikeouts and the first 5 unders as well.
Yeah.
In terms of go on.
What's up?
No, you go.
All right. Well, go. All right, San Diego and LA for the second game of the night. I have also 3 plays in that game. The first 5 under, 3.5 at minus 110. The full game under, 7.5 at minus 105. And Yu Darvish over 5.5 strikeouts at plus 115 against this Dodgers team this year. He had 4 starts. He had 5 strikeouts, which didn't cash, but then he had 7, 9, and 10 in those games. So,
yeah. Just a little point of housekeeping. Captain Sale was pointed out that Kenley Jansen didn't actually make the Atlanta Braves roster. So Kyle Schwarber's going to have a job hitting him out. So pardon my silliness on that one. Yeah, my play in the Padres Dodgers game was a little bit of a weird one. Munaf liked San Diego. He thought they were too big at 165. I kind of agreed, but wasn't as brave as he was. I took San Diego on the run line at minus 125. We've already said this is going to be really low scoring. But the Dodgers just own the Padres. They always find a way of beating them. So I think they could beat them something like 3-2. But I can still cash. I can still follow Darvish. I think he'll have a good game, and I can still cash my San Diego Padres run line at minus 124. And I am a buffoon, as the chat is pointing out. Completely correct.
I didn't write that down, but give me the Padres money line here. I think that this is one that they definitely need to win. We've talked about how they struggle against lefties, and Clayton Kershaw is the weakest of the three against the Padres. So I think that is the game that they need to capitalize on this. So I'll take the Padres at money line and make it 7 plays. That way I don't push today.
The buffoonery's never ending here, because we're now getting news that Kenley Jansen is on the roster. What we need to do is send a team of experts out. We will find out if Kenley Jansen is or is not. If he isn't, there will be consequences, Captain, saying, we're going to set you some sort of forfeit to do. Cheers, Noah. That was fun. We'll try and keep these going whenever we get the chance throughout the rest of the playoffs. Been loads of fun. Like I say, I'm really enjoying these playoff series at the moment. So hopefully tonight's 2 games will be as much fun as a lot of the previous ones have. I'm looking forward to. I've got Bob's football, and then I'm going to come back and I will jump in the bath and watch the Braves and the Phillies. What a time to be alive. I'll be in my happy place there. So,
good stuff.
You just watching the games tonight?
Yeah, just watching the games tonight. Nothing else too special going on. I have a little bit of homework to do because screw school, but yeah. I'll be live tweeting them.
Yeah, cool. Right. Thanks, everyone who joined in the chat. Thanks, everyone who listened yesterday. And hopefully, between the two of us, we give out enough players for you to cash a couple of lineups. Keep your eyes peeled on the usual feeds and the SGPN app for all of our shows and everything else baseball playoff related. Good luck with your picks. Good luck with your lineups. Until tomorrow, we will see you down the road. Cheers.